Hey, welcome to the Driven Stone Podcast, the podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
You are Kyle.
Yeah, today.
What do you mean today?
Sometimes
you pulling
I'm
like a
somebody else.
switcheroo? Well, should we unpack this right now? Well, in front of everybody?
We could, but nah. Let's do something else.
You mean like drink something?
Sure.
If we must.
We must.
Well, then let's do it. Kyle, this week, I've brought a bottle for us that I've had on the shelf for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, we've dipped into it a time or two.
We have, but we've never featured it on the podcast.
Isn't that wild?
It is.
How that happens.
I mean, I think it's one of those, like, being the whiskey aficionados and experts that we are, like,
right.
I don't feel like you or I, like, go and just collect a bunch of bottles. But the bottles that we do collect, we get several different things, and then it's just one of those ideas of, like, we're going to get to that eventually, and just other things eclipse it.
And it does.
And this is one of those things.
Yep.
This is the Chattanooga whiskey.
Yeah?
The Founder's 11th anniversary blend.
Oh.
I know. Look at this bottle, man.
Yeah, I really like
hold
this
this bottle for a
bottling.
second.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's solid. For sure.
Yeah. That thing is heavy.
Yeah, you could hurt somebody with that.
Oh, very easy. Like the base of this bottle is like 1.5 inches thick of just solid glass.
Yeah. It's a good looking bottle.
It is a good looking bottle. In fact, like when I kill this bottle, I think this is going to become an infinity bottle of mine.
It's a good call.
For a couple of reasons. First of all, the bottle looks amazing.
Yep.
Second of all, this is actually an infinity bottle of sorts. You know anything about the Founders Edition?
A little bit.
Yeah. So this is a blend. So it says Chat Whiskey.
Yep.
Of the past, the present, and the future of Chattanooga whiskey.
Past, present, and future.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both know about the Chat people.
Yeah. I love Chattanooga.
Oh, me too. And they're doing what I perceive to be some of the most interesting things in bourbon right now.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like in, as far as like in our quote unquote area,
Sure.
just being like the South.
Sure.
Yeah, they're doing great stuff.
Oh, yeah. So they are, they're definitely doing some of the most interesting things in terms of the South. They're the ones who are kind of pushing, I think, the boundaries of what bourbon is. And can I say what bourbon should be?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I love their experimental stuff. Great stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, so this is a blend, as I mentioned. It's a 75% blend of straight whiskeys distilled in Chattanooga.
Yep.
And then 25% of this bottle is whiskey distilled in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
So you got 75% their make,
Yeah.
What I presume to be their make, and then 25% from MGP.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is, as I mentioned, the past, present, and future of Chat whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah. The Founder's Anniversary Blend is a marriage of whiskeys to commemorate our 11th anniversary. Formulated each year by our founders, this Solera-style expression was distilled in both Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and is a blend of whiskeys from 3 of a kind charred oak Solera barrels. This combination of traditional and innovative recipes showcases the dynamic balance between multiple styles and sources of whiskey, each one symbolic of our past, present, and future.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to open this bottle, we're going to sniff it, and then I'm going to give you some more words.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. In the glass, man. Look at that thing.
That's a beautiful color.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah.
I mean, like the branding on the bottle's black and white, or like a charcoal gray.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing is just dark.
Yeah. And it relates to the nose.
Oh man, that nose is complex.
It was deep, dark, brown sugar, bourbon.
Yeah, molassesy even. Like there's slight bitter notes there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of that char.
Yeah. Heavy oak to me.
Yeah.
Like pronounced oak. It's pronounced oak.
Pronounced. Oh, I've been saying it wrong all the time.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oak.
Oak.
Oak. Yeah, real pronounced oak.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, like if you walk into a sauna and sauna's at like cedar wood, it reminds me of that sensation, but if it were oak.
Right. Wet wood.
Yeah.
What's the proof here? Because I'm getting some nice little nose tinglies.
100. Yeah, proof is 100.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Man, I would have thought higher.
Yeah, I think it punches up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Woo.
It's a great nose.
Yep, agreed.
There's some floral notes there too. Like really subtle, but they're there.
Yeah, a little potpourri.
Yeah. All right. So before we dive into it, I know. I'm sorry. I gotta give you some more words.
Okay.
All right. So the past. You ready?
Yeah. Back to 1955.
No, they've not been around that long. 11 years.
Oh.
This is the whiskey that helped galvanize the community and helped change century-old prohibition laws. The barrel volume here was 625 gallons. It's a straight bourbon whiskey, and the age on it is greater than 4 years. I presume this is the MGP product. I don't know that for sure, but I do know this comprises 25% of the blend.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that.
And this is a barrel from 1816, you think?
No, I think that's just the number barrel, maybe. It's a Solera barrel. It says 1816 on it. And when you look at the...
That's not a year?
No.
Oh, okay.
So that comprises 25% of it.
Okay.
We're going to move from the past to the present. And the present is Solera Barrel 91. This comprises 50% of the liquid in this bottle.
Gotcha.
Okay. This is the signature Tennessee high malt recipe born from our experimental distiller's 91st barrel created. Number one, or 91.
Okay.
4,000 gallons for the barrel volume. And it is a straight bourbon whiskey greater than 2 years.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure this is their distillate.
That makes sense.
The present, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're going to go from the present to the future, which is the Infinity Solera barrel. That is an ever-evolving blend of innovative recipes distilled at our experimental and riverfront production distilleries. The barrel volume here was 1,645 gallons, and it is a blend of straight whiskeys, and it's greater than 3 years of age. And this comprises 25% of the bottle.
Okay.
So again, 75% of this bottle is their own distillate, and then 25% is MGP.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, shall we taste it?
That sounds great.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm not sure if anyone would ever be able to really separate any of that information out, but to me, what really stands out is the oak nature.
Yeah.
It's the oak and the sweet.
Yep. It is on the nose and on the palate, both. It does have an oak presence that's very much
Present. It's super forward.
Yeah.
It's that tanniny bitter that like just grabs hold of your tongue and it's like, hey, you're coming with me.
What's Solera?
It's mainly used in wine, or I guess it's primarily used in wine. So it's like a really, really big ass barrel.
And that's just the type of barrel?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a real big barrel.
Right.
They toss all the junk in there.
Gotcha.
And they age it for just a little bit longer.
Solera is not either a type of wine or a type of wood.
No.
It's just the style of barrel
It's the
being
style of, it's the style of barrel.
And the past which was 25%, was of a particular barrel.
Yeah.
That was filled with 4-year-old MGP.
Correct.
Okay. And then I wonder why they're calling that the past.
Because I think that's where they came from. Like they were a brand initially not distilling their own stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think like to be fair, like a lot of modern whiskeys are that way.
For sure. I mean, I'm certainly aware of that. I thought Chattanooga, for some reason, I thought they had started just making their own stuff.
I don't think so. I think by the time that we knew of them, they were already making their own stuff. But I think like when they got their start, they were MGP.
Sure. I mean, if it was 11 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't there for it.
Right.
And then the present was their current distillate.
Yep.
And then the future is other whiskeys that they're making.
Yeah.
Which is like they make a bunch of experimental batches.
Exactly. They're R&D basically.
And that was another 25%.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that's brilliant. That's
so
such a cool idea.
It's cool in that like you're not going to get this again, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure.
Like this year's version of that will be completely different.
Correct. Because like what they've done is, my assumption is they've taken their experimental stuff and they've just they're adding that infinity bottle together, that infinity blend, if you will.
Sure.
So then at some point they're like, okay, so this year is done. Now we're just going to continue it for the next year.
That, and like they can also still play with like percentages.
Right.
At some point in time, maybe we take down the MGP to 15%.
Yep.
And then add more somewhere else.
The 2020.
Kind of
you still keep the present basically. You could put it the same. They're basic 91, which is fantastic.
Right.
And then your future stuff is always going to be the wild card.
Yeah.
It's always that like, oh, that's weird.
Well, that, and like because each year they do something that's, a bit of a curveball kind of a thing. I think this year, there was definitely a red wine cask.
Yeah, was it a Madeira cask or a Cabernet? It was Cabernet, I think.
It might have been Cabernet. I'm not totally sure, but like, a couple of years ago they did the peated Scotch cask.
Yep.
So, it's stuff like that, and like, does that make it in? in any way? Do they play with that blend?
Right.
Like they've got so much they could play around
with.
with.
Well, and you think about like the idea of the past. So right now we're getting that first year basically, but you can then do like this was from our second year batch.
Right.
We had, 3 or 4 barrels of that left. So we threw some of that in there. Then we put the present in there, and then we put the 2024 new make in there as well.
Right.
Or whatever you're doing. And like, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the future.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
And this to me is like what I really love about Chat is that they are unafraid to do this.
Right.
This does not like nothing about this says standard bourbon.
No. I mean, it's in there, but it's like it's buried. Like I don't think I would confuse this as Scotch or Irish or anything like that.
Definitely not.
I would definitely, and I don't know if I could go, maybe I would be like, you could maybe tell me this is just American whiskey. But
sure.
This doesn't, which actually, does it even say?
It technically is a blend of straight whiskeys. Yeah. It doesn't say.
So it doesn't say that it's a bourbon.
No, it doesn't say bourbon.
So then it is properly labeled.
Uh-huh.
I take all that back. I was going to say, if it's labeled as a bourbon, I don't know that I would be able to classify it as such.
Right.
But yeah, no, like, and honestly, I love that. I love that it's not labeled as a bourbon.
Exactly.
Because like, it's definitely something that I've noticed recently that it seems like the market is trending towards non-bourbon things.
Yes. Yeah.
Certainly bourbon is still king.
Yeah.
And it's still the biggest thing in our market. But you're starting to see big distilleries do
whiskey,
other things.
like whether they call it whiskey or they call it American whiskey
or single malts and things like that.
Absolutely.
Like you're starting to see them all do it. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's what we've been cheering on this podcast for a long time.
Yeah, because I know what American whiskey could be.
Yeah.
It's clear like these distilleries know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
And it's one of those like, okay, so you guys know what you're doing. Why are you pigeonholing yourself into this one thing?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come on. It sells a shitload.
Yeah. And this whole time that we've been like cheering on the movement away from it, they've all probably been sitting back saying like, well, we're waiting for y'all to come with us.
Right. Exactly.
And
At least I hope that's the case.
Yeah. As soon as we get enough, of the market that's ready for it and is willing to follow us that way and get excited about it, we're ready to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Chattanooga's in a spot of, because they're not like one of the huge brands.
No.
They're still craft enough that they can play around with stuff.
Yeah.
I would love to think that they're just staying true to them.
Yeah.
And what they find interesting
Right.
and what they would like to see things become.
Yeah.
And that's what they're pushing for.
And I mean, we're friends on social media, and everything I see out of them, that's the case.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we know our standard stuff, and it's great.
Yeah.
Here's our 91. Here's the bib, but we want to see other stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the cool shit we're doing.
Yeah. All of their experimental batches eventually make it down to us.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And if it's something that I find, I usually pick it up.
Yeah,
Just because
same.
I'm interested.
There's a liquor store locally to me that I don't know if they have a good relationship with a distributor, or they have a good relationship with the distillery. I'm not exactly sure, but they get a lot of really interesting Chat stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where I got this.
Right.
And that's where I got the peated malt at some point. They had a few other versions. So they always have cool things, and Chattanooga is always pumping out that stuff.
Yeah.
And like you said, like we're fortunate enough down here in Florida to get some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested in this as a yearly release. I don't know if they're doing that, but like I'd be interested in that.
I mean, I would certainly think if they did an 11 year,
Yeah.
sure to goodness, it must be something they're going to do.
I hope so.
If it sells well, I guess.
I mean, I still see bottles here and there.
Yeah.
I know the store that I got this sold out fairly quickly.
Nice.
I like Chattanooga whiskey, and I like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. I'm here for it.
All right, Kyle, now that we've got what I perceive to be a great pour,
Yeah, totally agree.
this week, I think we should talk about something that we've hinted at for quite some time.
Yeah, it's a topic that I've tried my best to get you involved in, and
Sure.
it was never come to fruition.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I almost kind of like, through this conversation, I almost want to see if you can convince me to do it like right now.
I mean that's not my objective. But what I will say, what we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
is Avatar:
Uh-huh.
The Way of Water. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the only Avatar that counts.
You beat me to that joke. I was going to totally make that joke.
It's the only one that matters.
Jeez,
it's
man.
so much better.
What was that? Avatar, the
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
did that just come out on Netflix?
It just wrapped up. I mean, not just. It's been a couple of weeks now.
Okay.
The way we like to do things. Right?
Yeah.
No, they redid. It's a live action adaptation that is on Netflix.
Action, right?
Huh?
It's always been live action.
No. The oh man, you're just playing with my emotions right now.
No, for sure I am. I'm being coy.
Yeah, no, the original.
Yeah.
The OG animated series on Nickelodeon, which is an absolute masterpiece of narrative enjoyment.
Hold on. Nickelodeon and masterpiece of narrative enjoyment.
Yes.
Are you sure those two things go together?
Beyond sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that good.
I'm honestly not being coy right now. Like, I'm genuinely perplexed.
I don't know how many other times I've ever needed to mention this to you to convince you of it.
Tell me one more time.
But it absolutely is that.
Okay.
It is a narrative masterpiece. And I say that knowing that it was a Nickelodeon cartoon. But this story, I dare you to find, other than Jet, a character that does not have an intriguing and satisfying character arc over the course of 3 seasons. That's a deep cut for people who know what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Not you. Not talking to you right there.
Okay.
And which actually meant, like, Jet has a fine character arc himself, but it's just, it's not, it doesn't give a satisfying conclusion. But everybody else, every side character, every minimal, and I would say like over probably like a dozen different characters have such satisfying character arcs, and provide such interesting narrative tales that it's literally like an absolute achievement.
Every time we've talked about this, like, yes, you've said it's fantastic. Like, stop what you're doing, go watch it. But you've never like delved into the narrative aspect of it. I mean, I'm a sucker for a great story.
Yeah.
So what makes this thing so narratively rich?
I think within the original, we're just going to stick with the original series because to me, like, there was the M. Night Shyamalan movie that came out and did not do very well.
Was there a good twist?
No.
And M. Night Shyamalan had a twist? Is that possible?
Not in that one.
Huh.
Because I were all of his other movies his stories, or was he adapting?
No, I think they were all like his like writers team.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too. Like this one, I think might have been like one of his first adaptations. So I think maybe that was the confusion. I don't know. It just didn't go over well.
Sure.
And like there was like weird stuff with like the casting and. And the original creators who were originally involved ended up stepping away from it.
I do remember that.
There was just a lot of issues with that movie that made it the suck that it was. But now with the live action series on Netflix, the original creators are involved and do take a big role in the production of it.
I will say this, like I've watched the trailer for that. I know a couple of listeners have recommended that I specifically, because I know you watched it right away, that I go watch it just for the cinematography and how beautiful the live action version is.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. Absolutely gorgeous.
I mean, like I said, I watched the trailer and it looks amazing.
Yeah, that is one thing I cannot fault it on, is that the effects, everything is done dialed up to 10.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It looks great. But I'm a purist.
Sure.
I'm a, they did it right the first time in animation, and I don't think they'll ever beat it.
Okay.
Done that way.
So back to my question, what makes it so narratively rich?
One, I think what it has in its favor is that the seasons are quite expansive. It's like around 20 episodes a season.
Wow. Okay.
There's a very clear, like, this was something that we always champion great narratives of, is that there's very clearly a path from the first episode to the last episode.
So kind of like one
they
of
already
those
had the
knew,
whole
yeah,
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they had that whole journey planned out. And that's very apparent.
Yeah.
It's not something that they were trying to figure out along the way. We knew where we were going from the first episode, which is a huge benefit to it. Mm-hmm. I think where they ended up adapting and shifting and changing things is through possibly how characters interacted within relationships
Sure.
with each other. We always knew from day one. I'm pretty sure it's in the first episode of like this thing that happens in the last episode has to happen, and that's where we're headed.
Oh, wow!
And it's just how we get there. But quick summary of what Avatar is.
Sure.
Avatar is we exist in a world where people can control the elements.
Okay.
Being fire, earth, wind, and water. And the one singular person within this world is the Avatar that can control all four. So he can manipulate the elements of all four of these elements.
So there are specific people that can manipulate singular individual elements.
Yeah, they're nations. So you have the Fire Nation.
Okay.
And not everybody within each nation can control that element.
Gotcha.
The bending, as they call it, is a aspect that only certain people within those nations can do.
Okay. But the Avatar
can control all four. It's very much a martial arts influenced thing. And in the original cartoon, like it's very Asian focused.
Sure.
So like all of the characters have a something of an Asian orientation to them, which was like part of like why the live action didn't work well, because they kind of deviated from that. But anyway, so that's the world that we exist in. People can bend things. The Avatar can control all of them. Okay. And so he's kind of like it is a like kind
an
of
OP kind of thing. Like he's like super powerful because he can do that.
Well, I mean, certainly to an extent, but it's a story kind of wrapped around a chosen one.
Oh,
kind of an aspect, kind of a Harry Potter, kind of a The Matrix, the one, that kind of a thing.
So what's the big conflict?
The conflict is that the Fire Nation has decided to rule the world.
It's always a Fire Nation. Oh God.
It is interesting that fire is always kind of equated initially to evil.
Right.
But the Avatar is a generational thing.
Yeah.
And it's always born in there's a cycle to it. So the Avatar
seventh son of a seventh son?
I have no idea. But the Avatar is born into a the Avatar is always born into the next element in the rotation. So the Fire Nation, at the beginning of the narrative, the Avatar was in the Fire Nation, and because of the rotation, they know that the next Avatar is going to be born into the Air Nation. So the Fire Nation, when they see that the Avatar has died, they go and like absolutely attack and obliterate the Air Nation in an attempt to end the cycle of the Avatar.
Okay.
And so
you're adding this kind of like generational aspect.
It's so deep.
Oh man.
And so in doing so, our main character, Aang, who is now the new Avatar.
He's the guy with the tattoo on his head.
He's got the blue arrow on his forehead.
Right.
He decides that
and he's of the air.
He's of the Air Nation.
Gotcha.
When they decide that he's an air nomad, I believe they call themselves. Once he realizes that he's the Avatar and all of this responsibility that's going to be placed upon him, he runs away and ends up getting himself caught into a situation where he has to go into the Avatar state, and he basically like freezes himself in ice for 100 years. So in the first episode is a brother and sister from the Water Nation accidentally discovering him and breaking him out of his ice cocoon.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then that's how you're introduced to the story.
So
you're kind of really briefly given that whole thing that I just gave you in the opening of, in the beginning, the Fire Nation attacked, all this kind of stuff.
So now you're really 100 years later.
100 years past.
So theoretically, the generations of people that are current probably don't remember Aang?
Or they knew that there used to be such things as an Avatar, but there hasn't been an Avatar, and they all assume that the Avatar is no longer. And so the story that you're following along is of this young Avatar, because he didn't age in that time period. He was frozen and is still
he's like a teenager, right?
like a 12, 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And as he's awoken, he's still that. And he doesn't realize that 100 years has passed. The main, I guess, overall gist of the original series is that he now understands that he is basically the last hope for this world in terms of the Fire Nation is going to take over.
Right. So
unless I step in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I step in and create balance again between all the nations.
So now Aang is the one that's charged with establishing and keeping balance.
Yeah. And he's the last airbender because they wiped out the entire air nation. He's it. There are no other airbenders left. Over the course of those 3 original seasons is Aang learning to master the other elements and coming to grips with this task that's been placed upon him as a young boy of, one, you've got to go and defeat the Fire Lord.
Right.
And stop him, but along the way, discover why you feel like you can do that.
Okay.
Which is the original thing that made you run away in the first place. So like there's this huge guilt that he has of, I ran away because I felt like this was too much to be placed upon me, and it got my entire culture erased.
Man. Okay.
And so it's...
See, okay, I'll tell you why. Like, here's why I haven't engaged.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, not by any means am I averse to animated or anime things, because I've grown to love that stuff.
Yeah.
But I always kind of equated it with...
It was still Nickelodeon.
Exactly.
I totally get it.
I always kind of equated it with like little kid stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like when it came out, being like a little bit older, I was like, no, that's for little kids.
Yeah.
But, not only hearing you talk about it and us, discuss it here and there, but just seeing like some of the mythos that surrounds it, it's like, yes, this was created for kids, but it's not for kids. It's kind of punching up in age, if you will. It's a show that is dealing with so much more than just that kind of surface level stuff.
What I'm going to say is that it absolutely is made for little kids.
Okay.
It has a lot of dumb slapstick comedy in it and goofy things.
Yeah.
But it does punch up. It's down here and it exists at a place where kids of that age will enjoy it.
Right.
But it's also...
You're getting more than
philosophical as hell and deep dives into human emotion and things like that, so that absolutely adults are going to like get a lot out of it.
See, and the more like I've been kind of thinking about this lately, about this idea of, I think you and I grew up in a time period where like the kid gloves were off in terms of children's entertainment.
Sure.
Like, I mean, the Dark Crystal, Black Cauldron, Fox and the Hound, like just like things that just wrecked you as a kid and were scary too.
Yeah.
All Dogs Go to Heaven, like all the Don Bluth stuff is kind of like dark. And then you got, especially in the mid 90s, started to get away from that. Things were a little more safe.
Right.
And to me, what I'm hearing you say is this blends that like, yeah, this is still slapstick and safe in one sense, but you're still allowing these deeper philosophical perspectives to be pervasive within this.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that is what interests me.
Yeah.
Because I think like so much of children's media has gotten away with dealing with those difficult things. And it's more along the lines of like Dora the Explorer. Like, we've got a problem to solve, but it's going to be easy and nobody really cares.
Sure.
Versus like, we've got a problem to solve and my entire race has been wiped out.
We got problems to solve, and like we're going to do our best to solve that. But man, it's going to be hard accomplishing it, and we're going to have to like deal with some shit to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
I may have been selling the short for the last 4 years.
Oh no, like you absolutely have. I've been telling you for 4 years. It's such a great achievement, genuinely, and the fact that it is something that like. I mean, I got my kids to watch it. My youngest was probably like around 10.
Wow. Yeah.
And like she still watches it.
Yeah.
Like it's something that we still can put on at any point in time. And like I think that's what's so great about it is that like it balances those things of like dealing with things that are deep and heavy.
Yeah.
There are some episodes that like legit get me emotional.
Wow.
It deals with like a father and his kids because he lost one of his sons And there's like a lot of emotion behind it, and like it can absolutely touch you in a very meaningful way.
Right.
But then it also is balanced with like episodes about a secret tunnel with like these hippies that are like playing like folk music.
The one you've been singing for the last hour and a half?
That are like high on life.
Yeah.
And they're just, it's the best. Like it's such a great.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you sing that song for us right now?
Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Through the mountain. Secret, 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 secret tunnel.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay,
you got to earn it though.
Yeah,
you got to get there. You know, you got to get through it. Like they've got some of the best. Man, you fall in love with Appa, and you fall in love with Momo, and then you also have the evil characters that like, oh man, you kind of like Azula. Azula's great, but man, she's evil as all get out. But you almost can't help but kind of be like, but she's so cool too, until she goes crazy. It's such a unique take and such a refreshing like story, because I can't think of anything else that exists that it's not like, all right, you have Marvel and DC.
Sure,
they're different, but they're essentially the same kind of a thing. Like it's superheroes and stuff like that. And like while these they have like superhero kind of elements to it, but it's such more grounded in culture and things that it makes it way more, to me, impactful that way. I mean, it's great.
I don't want to admit it, but you are kind of selling me on this. I know that wasn't your intent.
Well,
I'm a sucker for a really good like redemptive narrative. And it seems like that's something I might be interested in.
As a traditionalist on it, like I am very much like, I would prefer you go and watch the series as it was done.
The animated.
Yeah. But like at the same time, I'm also kind of interested, like if you just watched the live action and went forward from there, could you do it? But they changed a lot. So it's a tough thing. But it's already been renewed. On the live action aspect of it, it's already been renewed through the ending.
So let me ask you this: if I were to watch the live action, would that be a good, like, okay, you might actually then now be interested in the animated series? I know I threw that at you.
I would probably say no.
Yeah.
Like for me, I would say the live action, while absolutely it is like breathtakingly well made.
Yeah.
And there are elements in it that are spot on. Mm-hmm. Like they nailed it. There's some casting choices that I wish were different. There are some acting performances that I wish were a bit more spot on. But I feel like that's always going to be hard to accomplish.
Sure.
When you're so connected to a character that existed in this way, to try to match that is almost kind of like you're never going to match it.
Fool's errand. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of have to like find a way to make it different and new. A lot of times they got it right, but a lot of times also it was kind of flat.
Okay. I mean, I'm interested. Like, truly. Like, yeah. I know that if I probably just download the first 5 episodes and give it a shot, I'm probably going to be hooked.
Not anything else I can do. I've given you the pitch.
You have. I guess it's in my court now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just whether or not we ever get there.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this before.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
No, but seriously.
And that's fine.
But seriously.
No worries.
I think.
But we did the episode. That was like by far the most important thing.
But I do want to try. Like, I want to at least give it, like, I know I've said this before, but I want to give it at least a chance, because especially if it's something that is narratively driven and that has this kind of rich mythos as you just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go right now.
All right.
I'm going to take this bottle of whiskey.
Yeah. Take the rest of that whiskey.
Yeah, I will.
You may not remember everything. But
yeah,
hey, I've watched it straight through.
I'll do well enough.
4 or 5 times.
I'll just ask you if I have any questions. Yeah. On that note, I want to know, what does everybody else think about Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah. Yeah. What did I miss? Who are your favorite characters? Like, for me personally, it's Zuko.
Chuck.
I love Zuko.
Oh, yeah.
Iroh is probably my second favorite. But
there's just not a
bad character in any of it.
I believe you.
Zuko's character arc is fucking mind-blowing. It's so good.
We also want to know, what do you think about the Chattanooga Whiskey Founders 11th Anniversary Blend?
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy it.
Or have you ever had any other of their anniversary blends?
Or have you had any other Chattanooga whiskey that we haven't covered
Chattanooga
that you love? Yeah, exactly.
They do so much stuff.
They do so many good things. Good on you, Chattanooga Whiskey. Well, you can get in touch with us through email. It's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media.
It's always one word, Drep and Stone, DREP and Stone. Find us somewhere, like us, the things that we're putting up on that space, and, contact us and ask some questions.
For sure.
It'll be great.
And if you're not a follower, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. At this point in time, why are you listening to a podcast and you don't follow?
Because you're going to find a lot of really cool stuff there. Like, we're doing a brand new series, and if you're listening to this in real time, we're pairing whiskey with a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
And by weird stuff, I mean not like grass clippings or something like that, but things that are edible.
Yeah, snacky, but also sometimes savory things.
And things that you might have on hand that you can pair with whiskey as well.
Yeah, and you could tell us how we got it wrong and actually try it with this. It's way better.
Exactly. And eventually, we might move on to other things that we're going to pair as well.
You never know.
We'd also love it if you support the podcast. You can do so in a variety of ways. Way number one, Kyle.
What's that?
You can rate Drep and Stone wherever it is you find great podcasts like this one.
Just like this one.
Yeah, a couple stars.
Yeah, some thumbs up.
Some likes.
Comments.
Way number two.
What's that?
You can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Drep and Stone.
Good one.
Way number three. You can go to flaviar.com. That's FLAVIAR.com.
Yeah.
You can find your favorite whiskey.
Indeed.
They're going to ship it right to you.
Incredible.
You don't even have to do anything.
Right.
Except you do have to do one thing. You have to use a promo code.
The Drep and Stone promo code.
Correct. It's going to save you some money. All your favorite whiskeys are there anyway. And that Drep and Stone promo code is pretty simple to remember. It's DSP, as in Drep and Stone Podcast, 1010.
What does that get you?
That gets you $10 off your $100 purchase.
What?
I know. And let's be honest, you're going to buy great whiskey anyway, and you're probably going to buy a couple of bottles. So you're going to save $10 once you hit that $100.
Wow.
I know. Super easy. And finally, Kyle, the last way to support the podcast.
I know this one.
Tell someone about Drep and Stone.
Just tell somebody.
On that note, hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Yip, yip, buddy.
Yip, yip.
Perfect. Hey, wake up.
I'm sorry, I gotta say this all again. If you could follow, I can't follow along with this shit.
Love talking to that guy, but then there's also this kid that works there, and that kid loves to talk too. And it's just I don't want to talk to you.
You should give him a Drep and Stone sticker.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, it just you want to talk?
Yeah,
just listen.
Yeah, I probably should.
Yeah,
it's actually a good idea.
But yeah, I like Chattanooga.
Chattanooga.
I'm a doorbell guy myself, but
Oh yeah,
you do what you need to do.
I mean, I don't know what you're doing, where you're at. Well, knock on the door may not do it.
Right, exactly.
You may have to go to the doorbell.
So if you're gonna do it, just do it. Just ring the doorbell.
Yeah, go ahead, go all out.
Yeah, ding dong.
Right.